Okay, so in my original book, The Exposing the Lies, Candida Weaponized Fungus, Mainstreaming Mutancy, I do talk about the dangers of certain types of foods that, if eaten on a continuous basis in the large amounts, it will destroy you at the micro level. And so I last couple days been talking about the leukocytes and apoptosis, the programmed cell death, the antibodies that are being promoted through the allopathic, which is Dr. Fauci, and the vaccines, as well as the therapeutics and the prescription drugs. And so there are specific foods, especially in the Indian culture, especially in the Hispanic culture when it comes to jalapenos. I don't eat spicy food anymore. I don't eat spicy food at all. If I do a little, like I might take a little bit of red pepper flakes and put a few if I want to, but it's very few and far between. And I'll never go to an Indian restaurant ever again. Okay? Because the last time I went to an Indian restaurant was probably a few months back and I felt like I was drunk. Okay? And so to understand what spicy foods do is they destroy you at the micro level. They actually destroy good cell tissue. It's a major chemical irritant. And so that's why there is no promotion of kimchi on the Jilly juice, because kimchi has the spicy stuff in there. So even though you're bringing life into your body, you're destroying it simultaneously with the spicy kimchi, the spices in the kimchi. Okay, Jilly juice is not kimchi, just so you understand. Okay, so what is capsaicin? Capsaicin is in the red hot chili peppers. And capsaicin is an active component of chili peppers, which are plants belonging to the genus Capsicum. It is a chemical irritant for mammals, including humans, and produces a sensation of burning in any tissue which when it comes into contact. Okay, and it's a crystalline white powder. And also when you're doing turmeric and ginger, lots of garlic, like lots and lots of garlic, any type of spicy foods, which yes, they are antibiotic. And so that's why in my original book there's a specific diet, because I know some cultures do heavy amounts of turmeric, curries, um, jalapenos, serrano peppers, chili pepper flakes. I think once in a while I'll do something spicy if I'm eating Chinese food and there's like a hot sauce, maybe. But you have to understand why spicy food does destroy the microbiome. And then we have this word capsaicin. Now, capsaicin or caspasis, it's a aspartic protease. A cysteines, a aspartase or cysteine-dependent aspartate directed protein are a family of protease enzymes playing essential roles in a programmed cell death. So even though there might not be a complete spelling similarity, there is definitely relationship with capsaicin and caspasis. It's almost like you can't even tell the difference between the two except for the spelling. And so there is a relationship with spicy food and red hot chili peppers and then a programmed cell death. And so when somebody is making like these concoctions for flu season where they're mixing apple cider vinegar and they're mixing red hot chili peppers or spicy jalapenos with turmeric and curry and all these different spices and this concoction of a juice that I've seen the ingredients, yeah, sorry, that actually contributes to the death of your microbiome. And what does your microbiome consist of? Viruses, which is viruses need a host. Okay, so you're destroying the host, which is you. So the capsaicin, caspasis, as well as spicy food destroys the microbiome. Viruses, parasites, but you need parasites. People are like, oh my God, parasites are so bad, and they're taking all of these spicy foods. Like, oh, what are they doing? They're taking like a turpentine. which is a holistic remedy to try to go after the parasites. They're taking these anti-parasitics. Okay, and parasites need a host, and you're the host. So it really is destroying you. When you don't need a parasite anymore, when you're actually able to compost your own shit, which means you're able to absorb the nutrients and release the excess. That's why people have parasites, is because they have so much crap building up in their body and they're not absorbing the nutrients. And guess what these parasites do? They help mediate between you and the food supply, so you're able to live another day. You need parasites if you have an imbalance in your body, mind, and spirit. When you don't need the parasites anymore, it's because you've activated your immune system the correct way, and then those excess parasites get flushed out. Not because of the turpentine and all of your little detoxes, it's because your immune system finally is working and been activated in the correct way. Not with the antibodies and all the different leukocytes and the white blood cells or the T cells. It's because you're actually expressing your prostaglandins. And then the body is flushing out the excess, okay? So your microbiome is viruses, parasites, protozoa. And in my book, I give you a list of everything in the microbiome and their benefits to the human body and to the microbiome. So that way you're not afraid of these things, okay? So the microbiome is viruses, parasites, protozoa, proteins. There are so many different proteins out there, and then you see protein docking. You've maybe read my Facebook and seen some of the scientific procedures that they do in biotech, where they take different proteins and bind them through chemistry to have a specific outcome, and that's called genetically modified systems, genetically modified tissue. And then you wonder why we have so much diversity in the population when we have mad scientists binding proteins together to create a specific outcome. Okay, so proteins, so viruses, parasites, proteins, protozoa, fungus, and bacteria. Fungus is the yeast. That's what originated and kicked off the whole Jilly juice, was that I was focusing on Candida, trying to find a relationship with Candida and known diseases. And of course, when you have your microbiome, which is basically all of that, it's always going to have some foundation of a Candida fungus imbalance. So I wasn't incorrect initially with my first book regarding Candida, but there was a whole lot more to the microbiome than just Candida. It was the viruses, parasites, the protozoa, proteins, fungus, and bacteria. Bacteria is also the lactobacillus. You need lactobacillus. You need the lactic acid. You need those good gut bacteria. That's in the Jilly juice. Where the lactobacillus can be really detrimental is when you have lactic acidosis, is when you are taking something like kombucha and apple cider vinegar, or kombucha, which is all lactic acid, but there is no balancing force. What's that balancing force? Water and salt. But it's not just water and salt, it's also the right nutrients. It's not just sugar and lactobacillus, because you're seeing that in the kombucha world. Oh yeah, I made this culture, I made this specific whatever, this I forget the name of it, but they made this culture, and I want to go and give you guys this culture so you can go and grow your own kombucha, make your own kombucha. And when you are solely drinking kombucha, which yes is a probiotic, you will get lactic acidosis, which means that you'll have an imbalance in that bacteria, and then you start seeing then symptoms of the body trying to heal from that imbalance. And so when somebody is running, they get a lot of lactic acid buildup, because running does cause the body to go into some kind of crisis mode. And so that's why, and they lose electrolytes, and that's why runners who feel cramps or have lactic acid buildup in their muscles then have to drink electrolytes to then balance the system out again. But remember, sugar and lactic acid, remember, acid eats away at stuff. But you need acid, so you don't want to have a mitigation of acid. Be like, oh God, the alkaline and acidity. You got to be so alkaline. You got to be so acidic. And yeah, like anything, any imbalance in your alkalinity and your acidity is going to cause imbalances. When I was drinking the kombucha predominantly thinking that that was the answer prior to me doing the J juice, I told people that the top part of my tooth was crumbling on the top part because of the amount of kombucha I was drinking. Because it's so acidic, along with the sugar, there was no balancing force of the salt and nutrients. And so when you're predominantly drinking kombucha and apple cider vinegar, you're going to destroy and melt the insides. You have to have a balance. And so the first book that I re-released from 2018 does go into great detail about the food supply, why there was a specific diet. But there is no one size fits all. It really is about understanding what each of the food supply does and how it affects your body. But when you're doing the Jilly juice, the food supply won't be weaponized against you because you'll be able to heal and seal and activate your immune system the correct way. But some people go overboard when it comes to spicy food. Some people go overboard when it comes to kombucha probiotics. Some people go overboard when it comes to all these different detoxes because they think that doing a saltwater flush, they think that doing some kind of bentonite clay and diatomaceous earth detox is going to help them when it actually hurts them. And and this thing about stealing from Peter and Pay and Paul, I've used that term many times. When someone does a saltwater flush, the salt does activate their immune system, but they don't have enough sealage in their gut to be able to maximize the food supply and to absorb the nutrients. And so when you have leaky gut from all the antibodies that punched holes in all of your cells in your gut, you're not able to absorb. And so what happens is the body steals from the hair, skin, and nails and bones to keep your vital organs going. So that's why you're seeing the organic people, the vegan and vegetarians, all the detox trendy people aging because they're activating their immune system with the salt and whatever detoxes. And so the body is now going into triage and stealing Peter from and Pay and Paul. And nobody is really regenerating at the micro level when you're not doing Jilly juice because you've never been taught that from the holistic allopathic. Because there are two sides of the same wing, dove, bird, whatever. But no, the way the marketing is in the allopathic holistic is they try to look different and they try to market you differently, but then it's all related to biotech. Every single holistic supplement out there is related to biotech in some way. Every single naturopathic doctor, homeopathic, osteopath has to get licensed by the state because they're still purveyors of antibodies. They still sustain the programming that the allopathic and their antibodies and their vaccines have done to you. And so when you're taking stuff like spicy food, Shari, and when you're taking so much kombucha, and when you're doing so many detoxes and holistic supplements and elderberry syrup and kombucha, you're causing more imbalances. And you wonder why your kid still has candida, why they still have fungal issues, same thing, why they still have bacterial infections every freaking flu season. Even if they don't get a vaccine, they're exposed to all of their cohorts, their peers, and they will inevitably be exposed to somebody who is shedding these monoclonal antibodies. So that's why you have to understand Jilly Juice has cornered the market when it comes to actual true intentional healing, because we don't run away from pain. We don't try to manage and dosage ourselves with melatonin or vitamin D or any of these other, known little remedies that the holistic world is so famous for. And they have such a following with like Wellness Mama and all these different gurus out there that still have imbalances. They still hold so many antibodies and fatty acids and imbalances in their microbiome. They're still taking all their little detoxes and they're still aging and degrading. All these energy people who are doing breathing exercise and fasting and doing meditation, they're still aging, and yet people are still buying their wares. But you know why? Because no matter what you do in the holistic allopathic, you're not regenerating, you're not sealing, and you're not definitely activating the right side of your immune system. So guess what? These guys that are basically skin and bones, who are vegans, vegetarians, breatharians, are destroying themselves because they don't have the maximum nutritional absorption. But hey, their little protocols are trendy, they're new and different. They seem like they're enlightened. But that's what came out of the 1960s was the drug culture, the guru cult culture, and then how many paths to death can you take and still enjoy it? I mean, that's exactly what we're dealing with in the holistic allopathic. Is you have so many avenues of death, and you have a plethora of choices of how you could potentially die, and nobody wants to look at science, like factual science. They want perception science. They've been told by their gurus and by the holistic allopathic world that death is expected and death is okay. It's part of life. And so you hear people say, oh yeah, my bucket list, I got to go here, 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 and here. So they're already programmed to die. And that's where the Jilly Juice breaks the programming. We're not trying to react to all the politics out there. When somebody goes onto the street in these protests trying to wear a gun, what do you think is going to happen? Okay? Inevitably, you bring something like that to a rally that's supposed to be peaceful, and if you are the only one bringing a gun, and then you have to defend yourself, and someone ends up dying, there you go. People have been set up to fail in our system of this divide and conquer, because we're living with so many dualities: pro-vax, anti-vax, pro-choice, anti-choice, BLM versus Antifa, or BLM versus Patriots. You are being set up to fail. You are. I mean, there's no two ways about it, because even though that child that brought that gun, that 17-year-old brought that gun, and he wasn't really the antagonizer, even defending yourself with a weapon is still going to be spun as if he was the aggressor. And yes, when you are bringing something like that to any rally where you are the only one with the high-powered rifle, you're going to be blamed for the situation. So that's why you don't want to react to anything political out there. You just do the J juice, get your healing process. Anytime you feed into the divide and conquer, the duality that's other than life and death when it comes to antibiotics versus probiotics, whatever, you're feeding into the whole programming of our system, the fake system that we live in, the simulation that we live in, because we do live in a simulation. Everything is bioengineered in our bodies. Everything is geoengineered. The weather is fake. I mean, but it's still working with the constituents that we're all exposed to, but somebody has an intention to create the chaos. And so now it's, how do you create order out of this chaos? How do you find peace within this chaos? Which means that really the battle is in here. It's not out there. It's not Democrat, Republican. It's not Antifa versus Patriot. You are America, you are Australia, you are Europe. You don't have to take part in these wars that are triggering people to create a specific thing. Okay? So here's the thing. When all of you are being affected universally, is when it makes sense for humanity to rise up against those that are causing the issues. But what the powers that be are doing is they're doing divide and conquer, yes, and they're letting you know what they're going to do. So that way you have a choice. Do you want to do Jilly juice, or you want to take part in the therapeutics? Do you want to still stay in your home when we tell you there's a Category 4 hurricane coming your way? Or are you going to heed our warnings and get the hell out and evacuate? The architects of our society are letting you know what they're doing. And now you have the choice. And some of you are going to be oblivious, and you're going to still choose the spicy food. You're still going to choose the antibiotics and the therapeutics. You're still going to believe that this virus is so deadly. And it is for those that are immunocompromised, but you have now the choice to boost your immune system, which means that you energize the life part of your immune system, not energize the death part. And the only way to energize the life part of your immune system is to bring in the right chemistry to your body so your body can finally heal. And then, yes, you have to feel pain. And that's really where the issue is for most people out there that don't understand Jilly juice, is that pain is actually healing, but you have to back it up with the right constituents, the right chemistry, and you got to face your demons. And many of you have so many demons that they're too many to face. And so, yeah, you have no choice but to live out the programmed life that you have within your biochemistry. And then take on more programming where it destroys you even more. And some of you, that is your fate. Some of you, that is your fate, and I get it. And that's why I don't want to convince anyone, but I want to give you information. Because now you have a choice. You can pick Jilly juice, or you can stay with your spicy food and your holistic remedies, and then all the fear around everything. And, you've made that choice. You have been given all the science. I mean, my book has the bibliography, okay? It's not like I'm pulling shit out of my ass. Everything's been substantiated by PubMed, okay, and academia. All the foundational terms. Antibodies, that's pretty easy. It's in your face. They're trying to sell you antibodies as if they're healing. And duh, antibody is antibody. Antibiotic is anti-life. You can't get any more black and white than that. And if you still think antibodies and antibiotics are good for you, then you have no one to blame but yourself. If you try to do Jilly juice at the 11th hour and you have so many antibodies and you're in hospice and you're only doing a little bit of J juice and you don't want to feel pain, guess what? The system won. don't even bother doing Jilly juice when you've let yourself get so bad to where, yeah, you've been diagnosed by stage 10 cancer and you're in hospice. You might as well just finish out the programming, because getting out of the grave that you put yourself into is going to be so difficult, and you won't have the support system around you, and you're going to need the support system around you. So that's why I say don't let yourself get that bad to where it's so hard to pull yourself out of the grave, because obviously if you can't take care of yourself and get yourself up into the bathroom, deal with the healing, get your food, get your supplies, make the juice. If you can't do any of that, if you can't even walk, if you can't even take care of yourself, don't bother doing the J juice, because there ain't anybody going to sit by your bed 24/7, 7 days a week, 24 hours, 7 days a week, trying to give you J juice and making you get up and release the excess. There is nobody that can do that. So if you can't take care of yourself now, there's no way you're going to do J juice now. If you're able to go to the store, get into a car, buy the salt, buy the food, buy your food, take care of your bills, and still be a functioning member of our society, you can do the J juice. But if you can't do any of that and you have to rely on somebody else, okay, then there's no way you're going to do it. Because yes, Sherry, you got to feel it to heal it. Because remember, when you get hit by, like when you get shot by a gun, when you get stabbed with a knife, when you're in a car accident, when you break your leg, you know why you feel pain? Because the body is now trying to heal. That's the prostaglandins trying to heal you. And then guess what people do? They take all these painkillers. They stop the healing process. So the body may superficially heal, but it doesn't 100% heal. So then down the road, when your immune system and your body is degrading, you start feeling all of your old wounds. You have your arthritis in your arm. You have pain in your leg. You can feel the weather change. That's why people feel all of their predispositions when they're aging, as well as when they're doing the J juice, because the body's now trying to heal. But with the J juice, at least you're backing it with the right constituents. When you're aging, your body's just dying. Okay? So, you now have the information, chocolate or vanilla, choose. But you have no one to blame but yourself if you end up at the 11th hour facing death in the face. And that's a lot of your futures, a lot of you. And it's a sobering thought, especially in this new aggressive atmosphere. Good luck to all of you. Do the Jilly juice. Bye. Stay off the spicy food. It's not needed.